I'm Suzanne Snively. I'm the chair of Transparency International New Zealand. No matter what chapter, whether you're interested in business integrity program or simply wanting to focus on addressing corrupt practices in your community, they should all focus on procurement and supply chain analysis. Even in developed countries like New Zealand and Australia, we find that there are very loose practices around the follow-up of tender processes. Many of our products come from underdeveloped and emerging economies. When we do the supply chain analysis, we find quite often that there'll be corrupt practices in the supply chain of our dealings with other countries. It's a great opportunity to tidy up corrupt practice for countries to actually look closely at that supply chain. One of the big strengths of the TI movement is the articulate voice it has around definitions of corruption, of facilitation payments, what a bribe is, and examples of case studies of how these things happen. The other organizations may be good at enforcing the law or enforcing moral codes around corruption and other bad behavior. The reality is, if we're going to really address it, it needs to be an empowering thing for all individuals to know about, because our greatest strength is going to be not what you and I do, but with all those people in our networks, what they do and what they understand about corruption. In New Zealand, people have often said to me, where is the origin of a country which has limited corruption? And I say it starts in the family. It starts with how mothers treat their children, how fathers instill a sense of trust. At that point in time, you set the standards of how people behave going forward in life. And if you don't have an organization like this one, who then articulates what these things mean when you move out of the family into everyday living, then of course people go and do things they shouldn't do. Every country, even developed countries, are facing a big challenge in the future of youth unemployment. And if we're going to solve that problem, it can't be solved by governments alone. And if we don't solve the problem, there'll be more corruption. Corruption emerges when people are underpaid, when there's income inequality. If we're going to change that picture, we need to work with business. Governments can create jobs, but the ultimate creator of jobs is business. Business does it in two ways. It does it through its own activities, and it does it by the tax that it pays governments, which enable governments to provide public services. So any country that's concerned about addressing corruption needs to have a business integrity program. One of the questions which is commonly asked is, are there any ethical companies? And of course, I start from the point of view that there must be. I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers as a partner for a number of years, and I had many clients who I basically think were trustworthy and good. But the best example emerged a couple years ago when Emmanuel Lulan, who's the Vice President of Ethics of L'Oreal, came to New Zealand to speak. And what he said is, on the basis of being an ethical company, I plan to double my client base from 1 billion customers to 2 billion customers by 2020. Now, the thing is, first of all, I had to overcome my own beliefs because I found it incredibly challenging to believe a cosmetic company could be an ethical company. And I challenged him immediately. I said, how could you be when you basically test on animals? And he said, but we don't. We've just spent $1.4 billion to develop an artificial skin. And so we're moving forward now to do as much of our testing as we can actually on the artificial skin. But he said the thing about our ethics is it's not just skin deep. We actually care about all 80,000 of our staff in 70 different countries, and we have a code of conduct which includes protective disclosures and a whistleblowing channel so that we can show our staff that this is what we really mean. And he backed himself by not only talking about his company, but actually coming to New Zealand and working with a number of other companies in New Zealand about how we could adopt similar processes to what L'Oreal has in New Zealand. And our goal now, based on that, is to work across all New Zealand business to get them to adopt these values explicitly. And he really has helped us and given us a big lever to do that.